What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. BobbyFi with my man, Eric Sheets-Haber. Got a big slate tonight. It's going to be interesting. We got some question marks, so obviously there's going to be more to change. Sheets will not be here for the late show this afternoon, but I will be here for you. And yeah, just wanted to, talk real quickly. It's been a kind of a frustrating week. I feel like I've gotten a lot of things right and a lot of things wrong this week. And just sort of feels like the timing's off. So I'm ready to turn it around today because it's been a great start to the NBA season overall for me, but kind of a rough week. How about for you, Sheets?
Yeah, yesterday wasn't that great. I mentioned in the live stream, I locked in three guys and on FanDuel, and one of them busted. I locked in Hero, Precious, and Wood, and that's not good enough in GPPs.
Yeah.
And on DraftKings, I did have a normal amount of like Sterling Brown and the other guy that was really good on Houston, but everybody else did the misspelling, the Sean Tate, and then but I had more Lillard and I said going in that I thought I had too much Lillard, but I didn't know what else to do. So that was the end of that. So I have kind of a fun story if you want, non-DFS related, maybe make you feel whatever. So I went. I had a tennis lesson yesterday. I don't know if I mentioned in the stream. I'm trying to get my game back together. So I went there and I was waiting to take the court, and I was getting bottled water out of the dispensary, whatever, the vending machine. And this girl must have been, looked 11, 13, whatever it was. She was just a little off, and she says, "Excuse me, sir, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just getting water." She says, "Well, what number are you pushing?" I'm like, like A9. She says, "Can I get some water?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure." He says, "Because I really want water." I'm like, "Okay." And I felt really bad, and I said, "Are you here with somebody?" She says, "Yeah, my grandmother's here." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." She goes, "Wow, that's great water. I hope you enjoy the water." I'm like, "Okay." She goes, "I'm going to get the same thing." I'm like, "Okay." So I felt bad, whatever it was, obviously there's something with it. So anyway, I went to take my lesson, and I was playing, and like halfway through, I look over, and this girl that was there in the vending machine was playing next to me, basically the greatest tennis player of all time. Like, she's like, I'm telling you, I don't know who she is, but I wanted to get her autograph because what she was doing in the tennis ball should be illegal. And it was like so amazing, because again, obviously she has other problems, other issues, but she got on that freaking court. I've never seen freaking anything like it. I think she was like kind of an undergrown, like 14 or something like that. Yeah. But she, so it actually put a big smile on my face for the rest of the night.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. Yep. That's helpful. That's sweet.
Yep. All right. So anyway, who the hell's playing for Boston? Let's see. Let's go into.
We started off game by game. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
It's always.
I think again. Maybe I'm making excuses. So I'm going out for dinner tonight. So I wasn't going to play all that much. Maybe like one or maybe a couple lineups. But now I'm getting tempted because there are not that many questionable people right now. I guess they could come up, but I don't know. I might. We'll see.
Yeah, we're gonna. It's that's the thing. I'm in the same place. I'm actually looking at guys like for value that I would never consider, but I'm sure we will have something happen by the end of the day. So for Boston, assuming that these guys play,
yeah,
where is your interest level?
My interest level is for Jaylen Brown.
Yep.
On DraftKings. And my interest level is for Tristan Thompson on FanDuel. That was my initial look. Jaylen Brown really, really just stands out to me on DraftKings as maybe the best play on the slate, honestly. There are other players.
A play like Shake Milton would have been last night.
Oh, dude!
Boy, my instinct.
You suck. You're the worst. Like that. And hold on. I'm gonna. You know what? I was looking at earlier. I'm not gonna do it today. I keep forgetting to do it. But I was like doing that thing with my new spreadsheet tools where I was comparing top performers based on ownership, based on what people thought. He was like 1.5% owned.
Yeah.
And was like the third highest scoring player on the slate, pretty much. The guy is freaking insane. It was a tremendous pick by you. And then not only that, there was one other guy in the industry that actually had that, as a play. And then it was funny. I was watching their podcast this morning, and he was like, he's like, I was getting all these freaking things about Shake Milton. But I swapped all of it off when I figured when they said he wasn't starting. I went from like
that was the wrong thing to do.
hold on. She said it went from 25% down to like 10 to like 10%, which is still like more than double the field. But maybe I don't know. He's like, I just can't play him. He's not starting. I'm like, well, I didn't say this because obviously I wasn't part of it, but I said into my head, I said, well, you were the second best take on that. But you were the second person to come up with it. Bobby actually wanted to play him more when he wasn't starting. So.
That's pretty funny. By the way, Cheetah, at some point I may have to pause the recording. I just realized I got an injured friend over here, so I might have to help him with the door.
Oh, he's coming back?
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, so basically, so for the Boston side, right now, until we hear anything on these other guys, it's really hard to know what to do. And we can't, to play the if for this guy and not that guy is going to be really tough. The truth is that I think that like you said, Tristan Thompson is still in play. To me, he's in play on both sides. I don't think I'll probably get to him much on DraftKings, but I think that he's in play. I think that Jaylen Brown is a really, really good play. Orlando's been playing a little bit faster this year, and he's the only one locked in the minutes. And the thing is, we've seen him even with Tatum. He's looked awesome. I think that he looks like 50 fantasy points tonight to me, or somewhere in that vicinity in a regularly, paced game. But even him, like I think we might even have some other plays come up later that might be, I don't want to say better, but certainly other options. So Jaylen Brown is number one, and then I do think that I just love Vooch playing Vooch every night because I know I'm going to get a monster game most of the time, and I know no one's going to own him. And there's going to be other options, but I'm just going to throw him out there. Other than him, I don't really have any interest of anybody on the Orlando side. At least at first glance.
So I will say, by the way, when you said, "Oh, we're going to start going game by game," I do think on an overall slate basis, and I was thinking about this for like a half hour, maybe like a half hour ago, is I think that I am going to try to like do just find like little mini stacks from these games. And so I was looking at this, and look, I have to say that I used to never play him. But every single time I play this guy this year, he does really, really well, and that's Aaron Gordon. They moved him back from injuries, and the last two games he's played freaking 35 minutes, man. I mean, I'm just saying. So if I want to play Jaylen Brown, I think that Aaron Gordon's very, very legitimate. I think that obviously Vooch is like always a really strong play, but again, I might be a recovering anti-Aaron Gordon guy.
Yeah, I get it. I actually think, with the usage gone and with Fournier out and everything, it does make sense. So I should have skipped past him. I like him a little bit better on FanDuel. The interesting thing is that all these guys who we all were trying to get the value out of before are just in the same exact spot they were. Like there's
Cole Anthony and all them.
Cole Anthony's a little bit more expensive now, so he doesn't stand out as much. He hasn't really gotten the run you want. Jordan Bone has gotten actually some pretty good run. He played 28 minutes in the last game. Dwayne Bacon's going to play minutes. So if there's no other people available, we can look at these guys, I guess. But I don't really think that's going to be the case, and I'm not really all that interested in this weird value against a good defensive team.
All right, you want to move on?
Let's do it. Go ahead, or do you want me to start?
Go ahead.
All right. So the Knicks side of things, look, Julius Randle is, I don't know what he did to the people. Like, he honestly should be more expensive. He should be 10K at this point. I know he had the one weird game mixed in, but talk about a guy who's been consistently at or over 50 for, he had 146.5 in there, and then the one down one in the last about 5 out of 7 he's got, 6 out of 8. And I don't mind him in a slow-paced matchup against a team that's plotting. He doesn't need to play. He doesn't need the pace always. He's a guy who he's going to get a ton of rebounds in that case. If it's going to be like this, they'll still run the offense through him. So I like Randle. I think it's interesting if you're thinking about just from a price point, Randle versus Jaylen Brown. I think Randle probably is a little bit safer, like as a play, and probably won't stand out that way. But Jaylen Brown probably has more upside. It's probably pretty close between the two of them anyway. But they're similar priced. Other than that, it's really hard for me to get to anything on the New York side. How about you?
Yeah. So first of all, this could be the first over 200 like in a long time.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah.
First of all, I think from the news I heard, I think all these guys from Cleveland are going to be there today. Like Jared Allen.
Give us a take on it, though. By the way, whether it's going to go over or not.
What?
You always nail it whenever you're forced into like an over/under decision.
No, not really, not that one. I'll tell you if I come up with something. Believe me,
Okay.
I just noticed it's 198. That's all.
Yeah.
So I actually have I actually have a pick in this game. I have two, and okay, the Knicks. You could always play Randall. Literally every game plays. The average is like 77 minutes a game. I mean, like you always keep playing him. The Knicks guys on FanDuel are actually kind of cheap. So I'm interested in the Cleveland thing. So it's not like the same thing. It's not like the normal type of thing. But I know that Damian Dotson was really pissed that he didn't get playing time when he was in New York. And he's going to play a shitload. And I think he's going to smash.
Really? Okay.
I do. I like him.
Okay. So you're going the revenge narrative. I love it, Sheets. I'm into it.
Yeah, I like him. It's not a revenge, but look at all these O's, man. I mean, like, it's like O. I mean, everybody's an O. I mean, he's going to play 100 minutes. It's going to be him and Chetty.
I agree, but it's been that way.
And I like both of them. I like both of them on DraftKings for sure.
I don't know about Chetty on DraftKings yet. I'm okay
on
with
FanDuel. He's like the top player. He's one of my top players.
Makes tons of sense. Yeah. It does worry me a little bit, the pace of this game, but
sure.
But I would like to get some. Why do we think Jared Allen will only I understand it doesn't make a lot of natural sense to play he and Drummond together, but actually this is a matchup where it would, because you play Randall and Robinson and combine 30 minutes together probably. So he actually can fit in that way, and they sometimes like to move Nance to the small forward, which may cut in a little bit to Osman and Dotson, because they're going to get Taurean Prince some run as well, and Lamar Stevens. And obviously Okoro is going to play 150 minutes and not do much with him. Although I actually think Okoro, I think they're all in play because they should play the minutes. I'm just throwing out possibilities of how it could go differently.
By the way, I think that I from what I've heard, because of his contract, they really can't do it. But I don't understand it at all. Cleveland, if they weren't planning on trading Drummond. They are planning.
That's the word that I've been hearing.
Oh, okay. Because I heard that they can't trade him because of the contract or something like that. But you can be right. But if they're not going to trade him, I don't get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unless they're just stockpiling to make another trade. I think the league is pretty aware of how good Jared Allen is. It's kind of unfair the way this guy's been treated in his career. Yeah. All he's done is go out there and ball. He's a better version of Larry Nance. I mean, a bigger version, I should say. Anyway. I think that everybody's in play. I need to get a better feel for what we hear later in the day, because if any of these other guys are out too, it's going to really open some things up. But I actually, just going back to the Drummond thing, I think we do have to still have some interest. It's just it feels like a shaky situation. It's probably the only slate he's not going to be 150% owned on. And obviously we know there's a ceiling. He's shooting the ball more than he's ever shot in his career by an astronomical amount. I think he's averaging almost 19 shots a game.
Who are we talking about?
Drummond.
Okay.
And they're running offense through him, so he's also getting 3 assists a game. Not to go with the fact that he's the best rebounder in the NBA, but okay, lead the league in rebounding. I'll just say that. And he hasn't had a game below double digits this season. I don't think he's had a game. He had one game below 13 at 11. It's not like he's barely getting there. 24s, 15s, 17s. He's a monster. So he's definitely in play for me.
Yeah, I'm not doing it because I mean, if they're thinking of trading him, I'm not interested in this. I think he plays 22 minutes or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think they would know that's the opposite. They can't do that. They have to showboat him.
Well, the people don't know Andre Drummond by now. I mean, I think it's more important they don't get him hurt.
I mean, I think it's a little bit unfair for him. I know he's shooting the ball more and all that, but he's actually been pretty good this year.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know why I don't think that to showcase him at all. You know what I mean? I think that if they're planning on moving him, they just sit it. I don't know. That would be that'd be what I would do.
I don't think they're there yet, but I hear what you're saying. Oh, wow. Okay, interesting. Well, so much for that.
What was that? What happened?
Sorry, no, nothing. It was my breakfast that I ordered an hour ago.
That's like a Sheets thing. You got something totally irrelevant to DFS.
Sorry about that.
I'm like, what happened? Who was ruled out?
I can tell you one funny thing. So I got it because I don't go out in LA anymore at all. I go to I visit my family from a distance every week. Yeah. I do my thing. But I got a message from Postmates that said it was the monthly thing after, I don't know if I started once in the middle of the month or whatever, but said for your last month on Postmates, you saved $497 because you have this plan. I'm like, how much did I freaking spend?
That's not a good thing to tell people.
I must have spent $3,000. I mean, that's crazy. Oh, what's wrong with that? I don't care. I I ate a lot. Also, some of it's you're getting food for other people. I've seen somebody, so you're paying for that.
No, but what I mean, whenever they tell you that you save that much, that just alerts you to how much you spent.
No, I know that's what I'm saying. They should, it's not good for them to say it. Yeah, I thought you meant for me to say it. Yeah, I got you. Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. I was like,
That's like draft. You saying, congratulations, here's your rake back bonus. You made so much in rake.
Here. All right, you ready to move on to a game that I know if you were home, you'd at least take a little peek at.
What do you mean? Don't you just play Luka and Giannis in the same
lineup
figure out the rest?
Exactly. The one day without value, that's what we do. I mean, look, the first lineup,
right? Exactly.
It was hard for me not to want to just do that. I don't know what else to say. I don't know. I know what else you say. You play the Dallas center also. Which one?
Play Willie Cauley-Stein.
Willie Cauley-Stein. Yeah.
Or maybe this is the Boban game.
Yeah, this is it's interesting. Let's see what I actually would love to see what their starting lineup comes out. I just don't see it entirely. I'm telling you what, once Kristaps minutes get up to 28 to 32 instead of like 26,
right?
I'm gonna be in, man. I'll gamble. This guy just kills per minute. It's absurd.
Absolutely.
If you want to get look, I had to build some lineups where I needed minimum cost players on FanDuel because I was trying to get these guys in. The guys who stood out to me, I mean, like they're terrible. Okay. But Wes Iwundu is like, I don't play him. I'm just saying like that was who I'm using as a filler until I hear about more value, which I really hope to hear about. And James Johnson, I actually think that the answer instead of Willie Cauley-Stein for me on FanDuel at least is James Johnson. On DraftKings, I don't know if you need to pay 4.6. I think Cauley-Stein is probably a better play head to head. But James Johnson will do some things out there. They obviously like playing him with Luka. He can play the small ball 5 all the time. And he'll play alongside Porzingis at the 4. I actually think that Cauley-Stein's minutes may trickle away soon. And I still don't see the need for the Boban here. Like this is not
I agree with that.
It's not a center matchup. Like now if he's starting, we're playing him. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think that's just an absolute fact, but I haven't seen that. I was surprised he got 15 minutes the other night. I'm not doing it personally. But again, things may change as the slate goes by, because if we don't get any value tonight, he's definitely going to stand out. Because even in 15 minutes, I know he hasn't done it this year, but he's been a guy usually in the past. We get like 1.4 fantasy points per minute from him, so he would be an interesting value. But yeah, I think mainly that it is our guys.
You'll be able to play these two together. By the way, Luka and Giannis, you'll be able to do it.
No, you could do it. I mean, without reaching for terrible value.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like even putting in. I mean, you have to play Dots or Willie Cauley-Stein, but I mean, putting those two guys in.
That's on Oddly, I found it like weird. There's a couple other guys I wanted to force in. That's why. Yeah, you could do it. It's just there's not great. There's really not like exciting value.
No.
Not yet anyway. But yeah, I like this game. And by the way, I do have a take on this actual game here. I like Dallas. I don't understand why this game is a 7.5 point spread. I just don't. So I would bet Dallas all day here.
Yeah, the only thing is that they might. I'll get to another good take ahead, by the way. But yeah, the only thing is that if Milwaukee's been toying with people, which I don't think they have actually. I think that they actually are missing something. I think they're
totally missing something. I think anybody who's saying that, that's in my opinion, that's absolutely inaccurate. I've watched them play a lot this year, and they look like they're trying to look. And like we talked about Giannis, he's messing around, not entirely messing around, but they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out how to play together, incorporating Holiday. He's out there not trying to take over games the way he used to. He's taking more shots from the outside. All of these are things that make me like Giannis less as a play, but I still think overall tonight, these guys just in this matchup, it's really hard to not want some of this. It's really, really, really hard.
And let me tell you something. You know how like when we first spoke about DFS, like first day ever, first NBA slate we ever did together, and you were telling me about narratives and like the NBA and stuff. And listen, I don't care what people say. It's a thing. It exists. And my comment is that even though you can't quantify it per se, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? And I will say, and I'm going to tell you that I've been describing this stuff literally since we've been doing these podcasts, but certain other things like letdowns and things like that, they matter too. And I spent literally 20 minutes of our stream yesterday talking about how I thought it was a really, really difficult spot for Portland, coming off of that super high-paced game, against Sacramento, right in the back-to-back, and basically everybody didn't come up and do anything. Like Nurkic, even before he got hurt, wasn't doing much. You had Lillard struggled. I mean, and they got run out of the gym pretty much.
And Nurkic got hurt, but that's right. And even McCollum.
Yeah, and they got run out of the gym pretty much. So that type of thing. I mean, when I mention stuff like that, again, just because I can't quantify how much it'll affect those guys doesn't mean it won't. let's just put it that way.
Well, also, look, there's a lot of stats out there. There's a lot of analytics and stat heads and all that stuff. But there are certain things that aren't really, that, like you said, are hard to quantify. Yep. I think there's an interest in trying to figure that out. You mentioned that back in the day as well. But I don't know I don't know how to do it yet. And I do think that it does matter though. And it depends on I guess it depends on the situation too.
But we talk about, and I talked about this yesterday, there's something called lazy content. I'm not even saying bad, but there's people that do that. People that say, well, just because it's just easier to say I'm not predicting the blowout than try to figure out some way to adjust, right? And it's easier way to say, well, you tell me about letdown and stuff like that. Well, if I can't quantify it, I'm doing to ignore it. I mean, that's just lazy. You can weight it. You could do whatever. You can make it up. It's better to give a guy like an extra or one less fantasy point than do nothing, right? Anyway, so Dallas, Milwaukee. I agree with you. I think Dallas is a pretty good play, and I think Dallas is a pretty good team with Kristaps healthy. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yep, they're going to just get better and better. Luka, they're figuring it out too.
Once Luka loses 20 pounds.
Well, we get this is interesting. This is a game that, like, before the season, you'd guess would be the fastest game in this Memphis-Minnesota spot.
Well, hold on. Let's talk about the most interesting freaking injury designation.
I was gonna jump on back.
Yeah, go for it.
I was gonna say, so now and because Memphis has been playing really slow, but Vegas isn't fooled. They're back on it again today. This game's got a high total. Ja's back, and the question is, first of all, terrific. Assuming that he is back, which was what we're hearing. I think he's in. I don't know. I don't know how much they're going to run him out there. It does seem kind of foolish to run him out there forever, but I don't know, man. If he plays 30 minutes, I think he smashes. Okay. If he plays 30 minutes, I think he puts up over 40 almost all the time here. Do we think he plays 30 minutes? What are your projection people telling you? Because I've got a couple different 31s and some 27s. What do you got?
I'm just waiting. I have him out still. You know what I mean? Actually, that's not true. I don't have him out. I have him projected for 40 fantasy points. You know what I mean? I really don't. What was his injury?
His injury that time was his leg? I'm gonna grab my thing.
Yeah, you can have it first game back. I'm just not gonna do it.
Can I just say, even in the best possible matchup, Minnesota's the worst defensive team in the NBA. And
yes.
Okay.
I guess. The guy's the freaking future of the team. I don't know why they.
Yeah, I'm with you. I my logic is with you, but I also I don't know. It almost reminds.
You're not afraid of D'Angelo Russell's defense? I'll maybe. Should I be doing this? All right, I'll
think about it for a second. I'm going to revisit this a little bit later and try and see if I can find out more. But it is an ankle injury. It did look bad. I was surprised, but I'm definitely considering him. At this point, I'm just considering. I'll put it that way. And that's pretty much. This is another one I got right the other night. Joe Val in these matchups with Cat has been really good. I'm not saying
that I like.
Yeah, I think though we can go back to him here because they need to play big. You saw the minutes uptick. What do you play? Ended up playing 30, which if he ever plays 30, you're in pretty good shape usually, especially against Karl Anthony Towns, who again is going to give up a ton of boards, a lot of offensive rebounds. The team itself is sloppy. They're going to turn the ball over some. We had 16 rebounds from Jokic the other night. He's getting a rebound every other minute, basically, a little more than that. I think he's in play, and as usual, will project poorly and will not be owned. And I also think that if you want to keep riding the Brandon Clark thing, this kid's trajectory is going up and up. I don't see Ja coming back to hurting it any. If anything, I think it may help. I still like him, especially on FanDuel. But I think all these guys, I'm always going to have a ton of interest against Minnesota. And I'll leave out the Kyle Anderson unless all the other guys, unless we don't have what's his name, unless we don't have Ja. And
Well,
if you don't have Dobbs,
if you're gonna play Ja, I mean, like, first of all, I think Cat's a really good play.
Mhm.
And you could pick one of those for sub 4K dudes. I mean, you want to pick a Kogi or Culver or Vanderbilt? I mean, you could play them.
the problem with them is like the Kogi's going to get the minutes for sure, and I think Towns is a fine play, like he is. Um, I'm not. I'm a little concerned that some of the other guys we worry about their ceilings, like just compared to the Luka and Giannis, other guys taking away. Like I do see D'Angelo Russell shooting a lot. I know that Anthony Edwards wants to chuck it every time. Malik Beasley is going to try and chuck it. It's not like the old Karl Anthony Towns situation, but he's still a monster. I mean, he can put up 60. I'm not saying that, but I don't think you're getting maybe they're so healthy and they've got other bodies they can actually use now. So maybe he's not quite the play he once would have seemed like at 9.9 in this matchup. I'm seeing a lot of love for Okogie, and I'm gonna have to understand. Look, I've seen Okogie get there. I actually like him and as a player. I like Jarrett Culver better. Jarrett Culver just I don't know what the hell's happening with his minutes or what's going on there. And if we really think Okogie's going to eat up all that run, yeah, one of those guys is probably going to get there. It's really hard for me to know this early who it's going to be.
Okay. Anything else?
Not for me. I do think that like look, long shot tournaments, Jared Vanderbilt.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like between one of those 4K guys, maybe that's the value you need.
Yep.
But I mean, it's not like any of that's great value, you know. It's you can get 15, 20, right? I mean, like
yeah. So I have a season long thing that's going to lead me into the next game sheets. Because I look, I'm only doing it with they're like literally like my best friends who love basketball. And it's really nice because, you know, where I'm at and you have a hard time, like it's, you know, you want things that connect you all because we're all over the place and everybody can't really see each other. So we have our little basketball league, which I've got a trade offer from one of the other smarter guys I know. And one of the, you know, guys who knows the most about the NBA, but he's trying to get Levine from me for Kyrie, who by the way is supposed to play Saturday. And I'm actually considering it, but I don't think I'm going to go there. And just wanted to throw that out because we're getting into this next game. I don't think I'm going to have any interest in these guys today from Chicago. Oh, I also have like Kobe White and Otto Porter on my team. It's a 12 like 18 players. So there's some value in switching off of it to Kyrie, but it's a tough situation to know what's going to happen there. I think for DFS wise, this game is like as close to a cross up as you can have if we assume Porter and Markkanen are in. Except for, I'm sorry, on the Chicago side.
See, there's a phrase in the gambling world that's called "This is what makes horse racing," right? And there's also something that I mentioned that Bobby and I never talked before we go on here.
Okay. So you like the Bulls? I just meant the Chicago side. I love the OKC side, so I just was doing that.
So for me, this might be my favorite game.
So what's it like on Chicago?
For me, this is Coors Field. Like Oklahoma
OKC
City.
Is awesomely slow and plays defense.
Oh, I don't care about that. All I care about they're playing against Coors Field.
I know, but I was talking about Chicago. I always do one side and then go to you and then go to the other.
Oh, I thought you said it's as much of a game as much of a cross off. That's what I thought you meant.
Sorry, I said I should say the Chicago side. That's what I meant because I was just trying to. It was my bad. It was my badly worded thing.
Okay, so I'll just carry on. So for me, this is Shea City. Against Chicago, he should be 10K. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but
not by much.
Against Chicago, anybody should be 10K. And so I like him, and then I like the other guys that will benefit from a pace like that. And where is he? And there's this guy, and then it was between one of two guys. It was gonna be. Where is he? It's going to be either this guy, but more likely, I want to ask you about this guy. All right. So for me, it was going to be Shea, maybe two of the three, Baisley, Diallo, and Dort, and a run back with an overly expensive Levine, and maybe one of these, whoever's in between Markkanen, Porter, and maybe even Wendell Carter Jr. I just always want to play whenever Chicago is playing. I want to play the other team, and then I always just run back with Levine just because, you know what I mean. So
right.
Look, as an individual play against Oklahoma City, who, like you said, plays kind of slow. I would not recommend $9,500 Zach LaVine.
Look who he just lit up, though.
He can line up anybody.
I know he lit up the Clippers and Lakers, like two of
right
the best defensive.
So as I said, I was looking for games to like do some funny business, and for me, this is just going to be one of them.
Yeah. Okay. So I the LaVine at 9,500 is a little bit of a tough pill to swallow.
It's impossible.
But you really threw some names out there. You made it sound like this was like a 2-game slate or something. I am interested. I'm open to the Dort thing. I'm open to. I don't think you play all these guys together.
No. I just threw some buddies, some dudes out.
Yeah. I like Al Horford a little bit.
Yeah, but Al Horford, I mean, he's not going to get home runs in Coors Field, man. I mean, I want a guy that's going to run up and down the court and get layups and sling and drive through the Ole defense, drive through the Ole defense. I want like Dorts and Diallos and Baisleys and guys under 25. You know what I mean? I don't know if I want.
Brooklyn is a pretty similar matchup to Chicago, and he just put up 38 against Brooklyn.
Okay, fair enough.
But I do think that I agree with you about the overall. I like the Baisley thing. So I'd rank it. Shea is Shea's going to be 1,000,000% owned tonight. It's
probably right.
Yeah. Which also makes, if we think Ja really will play 30 minutes, which I still question. But maybe they really did let him come back and when he was just comfortable, because I was hearing rumors last week that he was feeling better anyway. So you could play like Shea with Ja in some lineups. That's just a strategy thing. Like you know what I mean? It's going to be they're not going to choose one or the other. They're going to just choose Shea. But the ones who do choose Morant might just they're less likely to have Shea in that same lineup because they're the same price anyway. People don't do that as much. Dort would be after Baisley for me. And then I really don't know how to get to anything else. I understand our love for Diallo and how this guy just flies.
He's expensive now, though.
He is expensive, man. If he was 3.9, I would say we're in business, but it's just.
And he's only played 20 minutes. Yeah, he's definitely the I'm going to say Shea, Baisley, and then dart throw Dort. That would be my.
I'll tell you what, it's too bad that Horford is playing tonight because I think Isaiah Roby would go nuts in this match.
Hell yeah, huh?
I would be all over. I like that kid. He's pretty good. No. So Shea, Baisley, Horford.
What about your other guy? You like you usually talk you into, or you usually talk me into some of this Wendell Carter Juniors and stuff like that. No,
I do. I don't like to play. Look, there's still
he's expensive too. What happened to these guys?
No price, and they're getting marketed back, and it's just it should kill everyone's fantasy production.
I guess so.
Yeah, I would love it if I had a run back, but I don't have a run back that I feel comfortable with on the Bulls team. I look, you could there's no reason why in tournaments you can't just close your eyes and say, you know what, even if Zach LaVine is the same price as Luka, I'll play him. He's always in play. I just think.
And the other thing is that we do still live in the United States of America, and you don't have to run it back. You know what I mean? With this,
that's true.
That's true. Like Chicago could keep it close. Well, I don't even know who's even the favorite. Who's even the favorite in this game?
OKC by a point, which is pretty.
By nothing, right? So I mean.
Yeah, by the way, I'll take that bet too. Yeah, that makes me uncomfortable.
That's tough. But Chicago, these guys could just put up their medians, not smash, and OKC can all just do really well. That's very possible also.
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah.
All right.
All right, let's move over to a game that I actually like a little bit better.
So who that was another one I was looking at. So my two favorite Utah guys are guys that are not that I don't play too often, but one of them I kind of do. Like the thing is that nobody really stands out on the Utah side, right? So I have like 5 guys between Clarkson, Bojan, Gobert, Mitchell, and Conley. What's the 5 starters pretty much? I mean, with the exception of O'Neal. So I don't know how to distinguish between all of them. The good thing is I think that, my initial look is that none of these guys are going to be owned at all.
I'll tell you where they're good. They're a little better plays on FanDuel.
Is that right? Yeah, I didn't know it too much.
You've got Bojan is 4.3K at power forward.
Oh God, he always is over there, huh?
I know. Well, it's because he doesn't do much other than score. He doesn't really get the assists. He doesn't get the steals or blocks at all. Like this entire season so far, he has 3 steals and 1 block. And when you're getting three times the value or whatever for those things, it's but still, he's going to play the minutes, at least a lot of them. Yeah, so I like I said, I like the game. I like Bojan on FanDuel. I like Mitchell's price better on FanDuel, but I think he's okay to take a shot on over here. And I like Gobert on DraftKings better than I do on FanDuel. He's a little bit cheaper over here, and I think they all make a lot of sense. I am not getting myself. I'm not a guy. I don't play a ton of Conley, as you know, in general. I don't think he's terrible, but I'm not going to go there myself. And the thing is, I like the Atlanta. I like the game tempo. I want to play Trae Young and run it back with a couple of these guys. Is basically it. It probably would be Mitchell and Bogdanovich on FanDuel. Maybe throw in Gobert too. But I do like Trae Young quite a bit.
I think Trey's going to be really low owned. I feel as though his, people are game log watching, which, for good reason, honestly.
Back.
He 3 games ago, he played 35 minutes and got 16 fantasy points. It's kind of a scary, but
he was on pace to put up like 100 the other night against Philly. In the second half, he was on fire. And he did 55, but they just blew him out of the water.
So, like you said, against Conley defense, anybody can do whatever, and Trae can. What do you do with like kind of like the wing roulette here for Atlanta, like between like Reddish and Hunter and Herter and stuff like that? What are you doing that?
I think that they're like getting to be like, I think that like, they're a little cheaper on FanDuel also. Herter's like 4.9 over there. I think they're all fine. I think they're all interesting. I think that the problem is Hunter's getting a little bit priced up, and they're coming off of a blowout game. Reddish has upside here. So does, both those guys do. This feud going on between John Collins and Trae Young, I don't know where it's at right now because it was hard.
There's a feud between Collins and Trae Young?
Yeah, there's apparently the people aren't too happy when one guy just tries to take every shot in the thing, which is going to make Trae a worse fantasy player probably a little bit for us, and it has been so far this season. But John Collins wants to be featured. He wants a max contract.
Oh, Collins can F off.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take John Collins on my team every day over Trae. I still don't believe that you could have Trae Young as your best, as one of the best players on a title contender, where I said I can always find a spot for John Collins. I don't know if Trae Young could even play for a title contender that he started for. I just don't know if it's possible at his size and the way that he plays. But I think John Collins, he was on pace to get his over 30 minutes last time, and he was smashing against Brooklyn. I like this matchup a little bit. I don't think I'll end up getting there, but I just wanted to mention him. I think that these guys, like, that's what's sort of tough here. It's hard, like they're all kind of in play, but nobody really stands out. So I think that I would just go rate Trae Young, followed by Reddish and Herter on DraftKings, and maybe flip that around to Herter over Reddish on FanDuel.
This is a pretty interesting, just kind of basketball.
No, still Reddish over Herter. Sorry, Sheets. Go ahead.
I was just saying it's a pretty interesting basketball matchup to see Gobert against Capella. That'll be kind of fun to watch a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good match. It's a good matchup. I just still a little hard to know exactly what to do, but I do think Trae, Mitchell, Bojan, and what's his name stand out. Center, Gobert.
Right. So if Zion is back.
That's the word, man.
Zion is back. All right, try it. I'll try it. The other thing is that Bledsoe is questionable. I think if he plays, I like him. I think if he doesn't play, that Alexander Walker on DraftKings is a lock. I think that if Bledsoe plays, Alexander Walker might be a lock anyway. I don't know. I don't know. Still, if you told me that he was the backup point guard and he was going to get 25 minutes, 2,400, I'd probably try it, right?
I think he'll play more than that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And now that he's going to play, he certainly earned it this last game, right? How do you not play him? I don't know how you don't play him.
Yeah. Even with Bledsoe back, I don't care about how badly he hurt us the other night. He put up 16 in the second half. It was a bad first half for him. Josh Hart is once again.
He pissed me off, dude.
A lot of people off.
But you know what? Danny Green pissed us off too, and we forgot to play him the next day also. So yeah,
I think Hart was in like some of the big winning lineups though. So people, before they get pissed off, don't get too pissed off.
He was 1.7 FanDuel points and a half. I remember that.
But he ended up at 17 and a half or something.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm just saying, I don't think you can expect it. I thought that was a little bit of aberration. There's less rebounds to go around for him this game because we got Zion back.
Yep.
But I still think he's in play on FanDuel at 44. And then Bledsoe, assuming he plays, I will give some shots to, although I'm still sort of a little bit more, I think I'm a little higher on Alexander Walker than I am on Bledsoe. I think that people are not really aware that this guy is really good. So,
Yep.
you know, Shea is his cousin, right?
Yep. I was going to tell you that the other day.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, he's a really good basketball player. Like he just has never really quite found a way to fit in on this team. And without Lonzo, even with these other guys coming back, you're gonna have to assume that he's gonna take over some of that work. And look, it's not a long shot flyer. JJ Redick has actually looked pretty good in real life lately, and I think that he, at 3,800, it's not the worst play, but it probably, hopefully, we won't need that kind of value.
Yeah. Like anything on the Lakers? You like it? First of all, you like Ingram?
Ingram back in LA. I mean, I think he'll actually probably be even more aggressive than usual. He's willing to shoot the ball anyway. But I mean, it feels so wrong to play these guys in like these nut low matchups. Like these are not good matchups to play against the Lakers. They play defense. They play slow. Sure, he could take over. We saw what happened. I mean, and I know that he wasn't a Laker, but when Levine came back to LA, I don't know. These guys, sometimes that stuff matters to them, even without the fans, I guess. I don't know. I don't really see a logical reason to play him too much here. And I have some interest in Zion. As I said, I always am going to play him under 8K and until he gets going. And also, I want to, I actually, you know what? I don't know how much of him I end up with, but I do kind of want to see how this matchup goes. I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron tried to get AD like really going tonight.
Against his old team?
Against his old team, the guys he was traded for, Zion and all that, all the stuff. So that's sort of just my, if there is sort of a thing there, but he's been so, I mean, we just can't use his games. He's not helpful to us in any way.
Right.
So far, but we all know he has that monster ceiling. The difference is this New Orleans team does play defense and they play way slower. This is not the same guys we've been dealing with the last couple of years. But I think both AD and LeBron, as always, are in play. But I think I'm definitely leaning AD just for the, I don't want to say revenge factor, but I mean, Ingram coming back here against guys, it is interesting. Like there's something about me who kind of wants to do that Ingram thing, but we can only play, so many guys. Marcus Gasol has been really good lately. And if we do get stuck for value on FanDuel, like he was in my first build at 3,800 over there, just because there's no, but like there wasn't obvious value all over the place like there has been. Also, Kuzma is also, I mean, like he's been actually productive, but he hasn't been playing the minutes consistently. He's 3,900 on FanDuel too. And if this game does get out of hand, which is definitely in the cards here, it's definitely a possibility for me. Kuzma at 3,900 is interesting over there. It's just not a great pace game, but yeah, I guess I would go AD followed by, Alexander Walker on the other side. And Ingram, maybe, I guess Ingram on DraftKings and Zion on DraftKings and FanDuel, and then Hard on FanDuel. And then I would go AD, then LeBron, then Gasol in terms of my interest on the Lakers, but not in love with any of it. Except for Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Okay, so last, I guess we'll call it late night hammer because it's starting the same time as the other one. But hey, Sacramento plays like lightning fast, and they're playing pretty well. I mean, they play okay, So I don't. What's the spread here? Can't be much, right?
Clippers by 6.5.
Oh, that much, huh? Even still, I mean, I think it rates to be close enough game. Problem with the Sacramento side is that these guys are all priced pretty healthy here. I just listed the 5 kind of main guys here just to kind of just gaze at them, and they're all priced. I mean, I would say that of these guys, the guy with the best price is probably Fox, right? I think I don't know if I could do Buddy Hield on DraftKings at 6,900, for example. Or Halliburton off the bench at 6,700, or I mean maybe Barnes be the next one. Maybe Bagley would be the next one. So I don't know how much you could really stack anybody except for Fox. But I'll say this, that I mean you could certainly play Clippers. I mean you could play. I mean again, I know you don't. Well, you actually embraced him a little bit more this year than you used to. But I think it's a tremendous spot for Kawhi. I mean, I think that he can get a zillion steals. He can do whatever he wants. I think it's a good spot for him. Paul George is, I mean, they're both expensive, but whatever. And then I would go back to one of these two guys. I don't know which one it's going to be. We can go with my hero, Lou Williams. Now, again, he got hurt a little bit in his last game, so we have to kind of make sure that he wants to play or he's ready to play. There's him, and then or there's Beverly. I don't know about him either. But you get Beverly playing 30 minutes plus in this kind of matchup, I'll try that too. So yeah, I mean, if you want to stack as you can, the Sacramento side of it makes it kind of hard though, no?
Well, I just say I love them all on FanDuel.
Okay.
So we got, instead of 69 for Buddy Hield, we've got 57 for Buddy Hield. Instead of 7 for Tyrese Halliburton, we've got 54 for Tyrese Halliburton. Instead of 81 for Fox, we got 74 for Fox.
Okay.
They're really good plays over there, and I like all of them. It's, again, the Clippers. One thing I just want to point out is anyone who wants to criticize, you can criticize their heart, you can criticize whatever about them, but Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have been playing like they might be the most efficient players in the NBA this season. It is ridiculous. You look at their usage versus their production, it almost doesn't even make any sense. Like, how is Paul George putting up 50 fantasy points at like 17% usage, taking like 12 shots? I mean, there's some steals and blocks, but it's not as many as you'd think. They make all their threes. They're both like absolutely unconscious this year from 3-point range. They make all their free throws and they go to the line a lot. Paul George is, look at his last game, 6 assists, 9 assists, 7 assists. We've seen a lot more of that in his game this year. And then they're both consistently rebounding. So they're putting up numbers. Again, Paul George, a little bit better of a play on FanDuel at 8,800 than he is over at DraftKings at 94, but definitely a guy who I'm interested in. I like Kawhi better on the DraftKings, but I don't know that I actually feel like because of their styles, I guess they both have triple-double possibilities. But I sort of feel like George is, when I watch them, it looks to me like they almost run the offense more through George than they do through Kawhi. He just is so efficient. I mean, they're just both super efficient.
I have another guy I wanted to bring up with you. I really haven't gotten to him yet this year, although he keeps on kind of showing up in some of the, like kind of like my numbers want me to play. What do you think of, I guess more to the point on FanDuel at power forward, but what do you think of Serge?
So on FanDuel, he is 56. So I would play Brandon Clark over him.
Okay.
I just think, we've seen Serge in a couple 30 fantasy point games, but this is a great matchup. I mean, look, we're talking about the nut matchup, right? The nut matchups are Minnesota and Sacramento.
Is this a good matchup for him?
Who?
Serge?
He doesn't stand out to me to be better than, like I said, what's his name against Minnesota,
right.
Brandon Clark. So, and I don't think you need to play those guys together, but I just think I would rather play Brandon Clark than him. Okay. But it's a great matchup for everybody. We've seen like ceiling games every time Sacramento plays. Damian Lillard just had his the other night. I mean, we can go down the list. Every game they play, it happens.
Yeah.
So one of the and to me, the first one who sticks out is Paul George. I also do I think I like the long shot Lou Williams play. No one's going to play Lou Williams. But again, you don't make him in your high buy-in tournaments. But do get some Patrick Beverly on FanDuel at 4K. This is a much better game to stack on FanDuel. I'll just make it that way. Clear like that. Like I have, that's what I did is I tried to get a mini stack of this game I'm playing that at 1650 over there. I tried to get a mini stack of this game and play Luka and Giannis, and you can kind of do it if you use some of the, iffy value. But part of that being Patrick Beverly in a high-paced matchup who, if for Lou Williams, might play a ton of minutes. He played 36 minutes the last time out, put up 30 fantasy points. I mean, Patrick Beverly has been, he had 117 fantasy point game, but he's averaging like 27 over his last, 7 games is that? Yeah. I'll take that at 4K all day. So feel pretty good about it. All right. So I guess we should reiterate a little bit because, there's been a lot of talk on this show. Sheets, do you mind if I real quick just read some notes I've made?
Yeah, and then we can go to FanDuel. We can do the usual thing.
Yeah. So SGA stood out as the best play to me on DraftKings. And he's a great play on FanDuel too, even at a higher price. Jaylen Brown on DK, Josh Hart on FanDuel, Bojan on FanDuel. Sorry. Baisley Luca, Giannis, I don't even Beverly, Nikhil Alexander Walker, CD Osman on FanDuel, Dotson, Sacramento entirely on FanDuel, and the Clippers on FanDuel. Those are just some notes I made throughout the show.
Yeah, well, I want to go back and do FanDuel specific because there were so many different
A lot of difference in pricing.
differences. So I do want to go do that. All right, so you want to do that right now?
Okay, well, let me touch on one thing really quick.
Yeah,
Part of it we have to realize about FanDuel though, it's not just coincidental. Like the reason why these guys are a little bit cheaper, like the Bojans, like we just talked about how he doesn't get steals and blocks. And it does make it sort of harder to have a ceiling. Now you can always luck your way into a couple of those when you're on the court, but it does make it's not totally crazy that Buddy Hield is much cheaper over here because no 3-point bonus. He's not going to get the steals you want and all that, et cetera. You know what I mean? What doesn't make any sense is why Marcus Smart is 6K over here, 6.2, and he's 8 point whatever over on DraftKings. So Marcus Smart on FanDuel is also an awesome play.
I mean, is it an awesome player or is it just awesome play relative to DraftKings? In other words, aren't there better plays at that position on FanDuel than him or not really?
Probably not.
All right, well,
we'll talk about it. I mean, we'll take a look at it. I mean, like so the thing is we haven't had that many games. Marcus Smart is a bad shooter, but he's not going to shoot 20% forever. And we haven't seen him that much without Tatum so far. We only really had the one awful shooting game he had against.
Yeah, not only that, but I mean, he did have a thumb.
He's always, from what I heard, he's always had thumbs.
Oh
no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding around. All right, yeah. Okay, so we can talk about the position, but let's go. Want to start with point guard real quick?
You can take your time. Yeah, we got yeah. Go ahead.
One guy I didn't mention on DraftKings sticks out a little bit more on FanDuel is Trey Burke. But still,
wow, that's interesting.
I don't love it, and I don't love that it's a point guard spot, so I'm not really probably going to go there. But I will play some Cole Anthony at 4,500. He just makes a lot of sense. Wait, hold on, let me get rid of my shooting guards here. Cole Anthony, Kobe White would be the run back for your OKC stuff over here to me. Like at 6.4, I think that's actually a pretty reasonable price for him. So I would say Kobe White on FanDuel also gets a boost. But I think it's De'Aaron Fox is the obvious play here. It's weird because it doesn't feel great to play the obvious play in a pretty bad matchup for a guy who's like, the thing with Fox that I love watching him and he's fun and all that stuff, but I would love to see him get 10 assists in a game. That would make me feel a little bit better about his floor. I'd like to see him rebounding the way he used to. It's hard though with Halliburton there also now. He doesn't create all the offense. So there is more volatility to his game, but at 7.3, it's just too good a price. So Fox is the main one for me, mixing in Cole Anthony, Kobe White, Patrick Beverly, Damian Dotson.
So for me, if you're paying up, I have them all kind of the same between Luka, Fox, and Trey.
And Luka, sorry.
And then when you go, and if you wanted to go a little cheaper, I will reiterate your Cole Anthony sentiment, and then I will re-stress my Damian Dotson play.
Yeah, I'm into that Dotson. You got me on it.
Shooting guard, I'll just get shooting guard. Up at the top, I like. When I say at the top, it's just kind of the way I rank them. I like SGA, Paul George, and Levine. I think Levine's obviously a much better player over here. I like all three of them. I mean, I don't really. The thing is, when you look at my notes and my thing, there's no like enormous standout for me at literally any position. So, what I'm going to be doing is like really just playing the ownership game, with all of these. When it comes to shooting guard, like at value, I'm not as I don't want to say sold, but I don't think like Smart's like a lock or anything like that. I like like if Bledsoe plays, I think Bledsoe's just as fine, and I also like Clarkson too. So I like all three of those guys at shooting guard.
Yeah, I like those guys too. I think that with Smart, what you get is the lock in minutes. I love Paul George over here at shooting guard. I mean, I think Paul George, and if you can get Paul George and Shea as your shooting guards in this spot, I think I'd feel pretty good about that. But I also like both Sacramento guys, Halliburton and Fox, and I like Smart as well. I'm not going to do the D'Angelo Russell thing, but I feel like I'm like, there's one of these nights I expect him to go off, because it's one also thing that bothers me about Cat is when I look, and I don't know where they ended up shots wise the other night, but if D'Angelo Russell is going to shoot as many shots as Cat, he shot more, 21. I know they're buddies, but I feel like, first of all, it's terrible for real life basketball. I really just hate D'Angelo Russell as a basketball player, but I don't know. It makes it harder to play Cat for me. Yeah, anyway, I talked to the other guys I wanted. I do think the one other guy who stood out is Terrence Ross. In the
Well, that's interesting. Okay.
same exact as Clarkson, but he's down to 5.1 over here from some recent struggles. And I would just give a shot to him at 5.1. There's a lot of good plays at shooting guard. So you're right. Nobody's a smash. Even like you said, Bledsoe. A little less interested in Dort here because we have somebody plays the position, and a little, even though Reddish is cheap and Herter is cheap over here, I just don't think we need to go there. I think the other plays are a little better.
At small forward, I like paying up for Kawhi. And or maybe I wouldn't do him with George in the same lineup though. So if you like George, I wouldn't play Kawhi. I do like, even though it seems obscene, but I mean, even though it's 9K, I still like Jaylen Brown. And we talked about this before, but I think at 5,100, I think Chetty Osman's just incredibly strong.
Yeah, Osman's a great play. He's going to be the only guy at this moment I can peg for super chalk. I don't mind if you want to mix Middleton into that little Milwaukee-Dallas game stack. We have one of the largest totals. There's no reason he can't put up 45 and Giannis put up 65. That happens plenty of the time. So that's one thing that stood out to me. RJ Barrett is going to play 7 million minutes again. So, and they want him to get going. His 3-point shot has really, really struggled this year. If he could get that going, it would open up his game so much more. I mean, he's just been like, literally, I'm looking at it. I think he went through an 0 for 29 stretch, and I think an 0 for 21 stretch and a 1 for 21 stretch already this season. I like Josh Hart at 4,400 at small forward. Vanderbilt is guys like that are going to project a little bit better. I would play Josh Hart over those guys. Okogie, I'll consider, and I don't know what's going to happen with the Okogie Culver. I could see them. I don't know. I'm still not sure what's going to happen with the minutes. I mean, we saw Culver get phased out in the last game, and I really don't understand why. I agree about Kawhi if you're not playing Paul George already in that lineup, and Jaylen. But for me, mostly, I think Osman and Jaylen are the most obvious, and then I like Hart a lot as my other value saver. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, power forward. There's a couple. I think there's a couple of ways you can go here. So you want to pay all the way up? Go ahead, play Giannis. Totally cool.
Yep.
You want to go all the way down? You could play Tristan Thompson again, presuming that he plays and presuming that all that works out. But you already mentioned Randall, and I think that's a good play. I mean, you could play Randall with again, if you like Dotson and Osman, right? You can play Dotson, Osman, and Randall all in the same lineup, and hope that works out.
Feels weird to stack the 190 game, but yeah, I agree. Actually, don't disagree.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Yep.
And then a power forward, I guess you always have to play Zion. But if you're gonna play Jaylen Brown, I'm gonna stick to it, man. I'll play some Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, I agree. Or Aaron Gordon is going to be the mega chalk here.
He is? Okay.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. He's.
Okay.
I mean, right now, yeah, he's. I mean, unless things obviously could change. So it's a terrible matchup for Aaron Gordon. I'm going to play probably a little bit of him on FanDuel because he does make some sense. But it's just want to remind everybody, it's a nut low matchup. He can always go off, but it's not a spot where I would, want him like crazy. And I just want to say also, as much as we talk about how he's been good and stuff recently, he's had one game this season. It was his last game that we would even take this year. And in that game, he made 75% of his threes. He had 8 assists, which is, I think, like a near career high. I'm not saying he can't do better. I'm just saying be wary. Like, this is not as obvious as people are going to make it seem later in the day. So Brandon Clark is my favorite. Brandon Clark, Bojan, and James Johnson I find in a lot of my lineups because I do want to play Giannis. So I'm using like one of those guys with him. And I want to play Luka. So sometimes I'll double pay down here. But I do like Julius Randle, and Zion would be my next guy.
Center, if you want to pay up, we can do exactly, you could pay all the way up for Cat, but I like your Vooch call. I actually probably prefer Vooch to Cat. And then if you want to pay down, I mean, you go right down to Mitch Robb we talked about. Or I'm still kind of into the Willie Cauley-Stein idea. But like you said, the guy who always just gets ignored, and it's always going to be 2% is Valanciunas. So plenty of options here.
Yeah, it's funny. There's plenty, but there's not really a lot of good ones. I feel like nobody that stands out, I should say, which is probably for the best. In that case, I'm willing to those are the perfect nights to play a guy like Joe Val at center. I also think that who else did I have as my okay? So Gobert makes sense to me. Brooke Lopez as another cheap part of that game. I want to get some action on. Boy, I thought I was in business the other night, Sheets, when I played him over DeAndre Jordan, and he had 24 at the end of the first quarter. And I was like, oh, come on, baby. Hey, he was like 2% or 1% or something in the big buy in the 1650, and then he didn't quite, or the 80, whatever it was. Anyway, that was but he got there. He got 34, which is great. But anyway, Gobert, Joe Val. I actually think Capella makes some sense. I don't really love his position, but yeah, I think that'll probably end up going with Vucevic. And look, unless we get other value to open up, or even still, like if you just want to try and get a 20 fantasy points from a guy, I don't mind Marc Gasol at this moment. That's probably going to change later in the day, but I don't at this moment. And then Mitch Rob, they're going to need to, I mean, like he's projected for like 30 minutes every game, but he's playing more than 30 minutes every game.
Yeah.
His average over his last 5 games is 35 minutes a game. I believe there might have been an overtime in there, but still, I'm always just going to have some interest in the low-owned Mitch Rob. But I think my favorites would be Vooch and Gobert at first. I'm sorry, Vooch and Valanciunas, with Gobert being just behind them on my first glance.
Luka 11-6 is really, that's a lot of money, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fantasy points too, but I hear you.
Sure is, man. It sure is.
It's one of those though where like when guys get to a certain price like that, when they're that high, then they cost that much, like you can fade them and they can hit and you can still win. Like, you know what I mean? He and Giannis could put up 65 over here tonight, and that doesn't like you don't just because you didn't play him, that means absolutely nothing. It doesn't mean you can't find 4 other guys who make up whatever other 2 combinations their top scores are. Your top 4 scores wouldn't equal out to a higher number. There's a million ways it could work out differently. There's a lot of interesting plays tonight. So maybe like, even one little example, maybe instead of playing that combination, play the AD and what's his name? Play the AD slash Brandon Ingram situation, or play your man Levine with Shea. Those guys will outscore these combinations enough. I just think this particular game, and actually, I think I might even like these guys better on DraftKings. But this particular game, I don't see how they're not putting up like 50 plus with like 90 upside. So that's the only thing I'll say. I know I'm sort of contradicting my points, but and one thing I'll mention. Look, I said it before. We are really close to playing Kristaps on FanDuel. 74 is a little bit begging for it. You know what I mean? It wouldn't surprise me if he played 26, 28 minutes and put up 40 fantasy points, especially in the matchup against a team that gives up the most threes and loves to attack the basket. Expect some block shots from him. Probably the wrong slate to do it, but it's coming soon. I'm telling you.
Who do you think is better if you had to pick one between Giannis and Luka?
Luka.
It's interesting.
Maybe position eligibility wise on FanDuel, maybe not. But I think Luka is. I mean, we can even just look at what he's doing. You know what I mean? He's
right.
just mashing. And while people will be sure that KP will take away from some of that, it's not going to really be anything to worry about. He has to really play poorly to not get like a triple double or a 60 fantasy point game. It would have to be bad. The way that they're running things. I mean, I've watched Dallas play. They just do every single thing through him. Giannis has weapons. You know what I mean? He's got Middleton who can create for himself. He's got Holiday who can create for himself and others. Even DiVincenzo will get aggressive out there. And we really haven't seen that monster Giannis game this whole season. Really? Like, have we? I don't think so. Yeah. I think he's only been above 60 twice, and that was a couple weeks ago. So I think for me, it would definitely be Luka.
Just going back to shooting guard for a second, these value guys. Clarkson 5,200. I like that.
Yeah, he's a really strong play. I'm afraid he might have a lot of ownership. That's the only thing that would bother me. But I do like that matchup. I mean, so we want to get exposure. That's a good way to get reasonable exposure to that game. I like Mitchell too. I think that Clarkson is. I mean, this projection. I have him projected as the best point per dollar play at shooting guard. I don't know if I agree with that, but that's who he's projected to be. I want to go back, and you're probably right a little bit about Smart, but I've had some huge games out of this guy in the past, and this is a pretty good matchup for him. They're sloppy. And the thing is, he's been shooting the ball terribly, even with Tatum in them. He's always putting up 30 plus anyway. So if he just shoots the ball mediocre, not to mention the fact that Tatum is out, I expect him to be, you know, closer to 40, maybe 40 to 50 range. But really feels like 30 does feel like his floor here.
I have to say, this is going to be. I like this this slate for me on FanDuel for tonight because I'm probably going to only play like maybe like 6 lineups, because of, you know, going out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I like it because they're only like. I don't feel like, I don't know. I feel as though I could be happy with my lineup. That's the best I could describe it.
Yeah.
And I don't feel as though I have to like stack like a zillion different games over here.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah, this is an interesting. I think it's an interesting slate because I think I could make the argument both ways. Like I could just narrow it down and just focus on 1 or 2 things because nothing feels like, so I need to get this, I need to get this. But because I don't feel like that, that's probably going to be reflected in ownership. So we can probably take advantage of some other things. All right, we're going to do a football show. So
Yep.
for Cheats, I'm Bobby, and we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards, guys.